Hello everyone, and once again, Ichibu. I'd like to thank you for being here. I'd like to thank you for the subscriptions. I'd like to thank you for the likes and the dislikes. And most importantly, I'd like to thank those who have commented. For a start, I want to talk about Africa today. But to talk about Africa, I want to start with the words of David Diop in his poem, Africa. Africa, my Africa. Africa of proud warriors and ancestral savannas. Africa of whom my grandmother sings on the banks of the distant river. I have never known you, but your blood flows in my veins. Your beautiful black blood that irrigates the fields. The blood of your sweat. The sweat of your work. The work of your slavery. Africa, tell me, Africa, is this your back that is bent? Is this your back that is bent? This back that breaks under the weight of humiliation. This back trembling with red scars. And saying yes to the weep under the midday sun. But a great voice answers me. Impetuous child, that tree, young and strong. That tree over there, splendidly alone amidst white and faded flowers. That is your Africa springing up anew. Springing up patiently, obstinately, whose fruit, bit by bit, acquires the bitter taste of liberty. That's from David Diop, who was not even born in Africa, but one of his Senegalese and Cameroonian parents. But why am I even talking about Africa? That brings me to the actual discussion. The presence of the Chinese in Africa. Who owns Africa? In the media, you hear quite a lot about how Africa is taken. Taken land-wise, natural resource-wise, gold, platinum, diamond, oil, whichever one you want to talk about. We hear in the media how all of this has been taken and the Chinese have occupied Africa. So I just want to talk about my perspective from the land aspect. From the land aspect, the last time that I checked, I can't remember who I was interacting with. Is it ChatGPT or DeepSeek? Just one of these chaps that are online. I was just going through and I asked how much land do the Chinese own in Africa? And it was about 465,000 square kilometers. Man, that's like at least it's more than 4 Namibia or 4 Nigeria. So that's quite a lot of land. And then when I asked the same chap, how much land do the Europeans or Europe own in Africa? He went blank. Simply because he couldn't quite put the numbers together. Then that left me wondering, why is it that it was easier for the AI to calculate that of China, but not that of Europe? Don't ask me, because I do not know. But one thing that I do know is that land in the continent is taken. The question is, who owns what? If you ask me, the concept of land is such that it's got, it's highly diverse. You've got the economic concept, you've got the commodity concept, natural resource concept, space, the physical earth. You know, you can go on and on, environment, human rights, there's so many of them. Now, what's my take? I think I've read or heard this somewhere, but if I can put all together, if the Chinese own a lot of natural resources in Africa, as is being projected, that leaves me wondering, Europe's been in this continent for how many years? 200, 300, 400 years? You're saying they didn't have all of this, and then the Chinese suddenly in the past 20 years came and took everything away, or the past 30 years? So the bottom line is, Africa is taken. Africa is taken. It depends on what has been taken with Europe. How much can Africa give? Africans speak European language, the way European dress, they eat European food, they worship European God. The mind is taken. I think that's the main thing. The education system in Africa mostly is European educational system, and so the whole idea of who's taking Africa is well known. We are taking. I have been taken. The process of going through Western education itself is a taking process. I have been taken is taken as in T-A-K-E-N. The taking process I'm talking about is taken as in T-A-K-I-N-G. So the mind's been taken, everything has been taken. Now we talk about the physical earth. The land that we have, it's also taken. Africa is a playground for land activities. However, my message is, I don't think it would get any worse. Land policies in Africa would be the key to the future of securing the resources of this continent, as well as the mind of us individuals here. The idea that China took Africa, Europe took Africa, I think it's a guessable issue. We live in a global world, and so it's difficult to stop anyone from moving around and trying to invest in other places. But what we need to do is use our brain to negotiate and to associate with those who play the economic game in the continent. And to do that, you need proper land policy, you need responsible land governance, and of course, you need responsible partnership with all other partners. And if we can do this, then the discussion as who is taking Africa and who is not taking Africa should not be there. What rather we should be discussing is what is the best position for governments to maintain or sustain the interests of their own citizens. Because what is happening in Africa, if you look around, is happening in Asia and it's happening in other places in different ways. So the focus should be that mind that is taken should be brought back, and that land that is taken should be subjected to a policy that allows it to fend for the interests of the people of this continent. I think I'll stop here. So before we leave, do not forget, go down there, subscribe, like, do not dislike, please, and comment. I need all of you to be focused before my next video comes out. And it would always be all about land. You wonder why sometimes politics come into all of this? Because land is about people, land is about identity, and land therefore has a political dimension. But just to put it right, I am no politician. All I do is look at things from the perspective of land. Thank you. Bye.